Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Heroes World podcast, Quarantine Edition. I'm your host, Stu Pei. I'm here, of course, as always, with the proprietors and owners of the Heroes World store in Markham, John and Andre.
Hey guys,
Ba Weeb Grana Weeb Ninny Bomb.
wrong thing.
Wrong pod, but we'll take it. And with our resident mischief, Prince of Mischief, Rob Cadet. Say hello to the people
You
at home.
beheaded Vader?
Yeah, man. Hello, everybody. Yes, Andre, I beheaded Vader. I took his mask. And
There are a lot of extra masks around Andre, as you know. He doesn't just wear only one mask. He's got to have more than one.
Yeah.
Replacement parts. That's what's required.
He has rights. He doesn't have to wear that helmet.
yeah. Stu, how are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. So welcome everyone back to the podcast. Of course, this is your podcast to hear news about things that are geeky, science fiction, video games, and etc. These
Pop
are the
culture,
conversations.
comic books, everything.
Yeah, exactly. These are the conversations that we would typically have in the store. What we have been doing is basically recording them and sharing them with the world, just because we can't be together during these trying times. So hope you're enjoying listening to this on Spotify or on not LinkedIn, on
Hope you're enjoying it on LinkedIn.
Spotify, on iTunes, and as well on YouTube.
Somebody's been looking for a new job.
We can get apparently
First
LinkedIn
off-
is supposed to be a hot social media hub right now. I should
not
probably
for
get
this.
up on that.
Yeah, my job is to be on LinkedIn all the time, so that's why I'm thinking about it too much. So welcome back. Today's topic, as you are, whenever you're listening to this, is the Mandalorian. So we're going to do a basic summary thoughts
Dun, 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 dun.
as we
Okay,
go.
fine, that's
John's perfect because anything over I think 10 or 11 seconds we get demonetized and get
Okay.
stricken down by things. So although not like we're being monetized anyways, but we're gonna striked by copyright infringement. So we can't do too much on music, as the people from Twitch are finding out right now. But nonetheless, we're going to talking about The Mandalorian. We're going to have everyone's opinion on a brief summary and a synopsis of season 1 if you haven't seen it already. So this is your guide to that, as well as season 2. So we have everyone here. I kind of got everyone's alignment to the Force. So we have a lot of good balanced opinions here today. So we're going to start with unhelpful summaries. So I'm going to have Andre start us off with just a very brief summary, not about what he liked, but what he thought season 1 was. So this is for a summary of season 1 in his own words of what happened in season 1 with no other opinion. I want you just to tell me in your opinion, what happened in season 1?
Like serious? Like what? Like is this an
In your opinion, but not
unbiased
your
just
opinion.
telling people what?
No,
the
this is you can do you. We know we know your opinion, but I want you to tell us what happened. So from the beginning to the end, what happened in season 1?
What happened in Mandalorian season 1 is we had the most useless, inept Mandalorian save a nameless child, lose said child, and stumble around the galaxy, and that was about it.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yep,
Rob,
it was
can you give us I don't want you to give me, I just want you to tell me what happened. Rob, can you give us a more better or a unique summary of what happened in season 1? Can you build upon that and in your own words tell us what happened?
So a mercenary took a job to get a package that turned out to be a young looking Yoda thing, and delivered the package, fulfilling the terms of his contract, then had a call to Jesus moment and decided he wanted to take the baby away from harm. And then the entire episode series after episode 3 is him being chased throughout the galaxy, only to come back to where he started for no particular reason. But it was a decent chase.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, John, can you now build again on your summary of your thoughts?
I don't know what we have is a tale of someone who has maybe stepped into a family and maybe wasn't ready for a child yet, and grows along during his heroic journey into a father figure for this creature or child, and has a complete change of heart, and it is being run by a bunch of people who are very savvy in today's marketing and techniques to grow a humongous money making thing. And this guy grows and he seems to always do the right thing, and he's just your typical hero. I don't know. That's
Okay.
You've just
Hail
described the
Mary!
Incredible
Hail
Hulk
Mary!
series
Go
for the last
long!
70
Go
years.
long!
So I'm gonna give the golden award to Rob. Andre broke the rules as always. Didn't know what he was
course.
doing.
You didn't
So
ask
failed.
for an actual synopsis. You
No,
wanted me to
but I said
summarize
no.
something.
The synopsis was perfect, Andre, until you said it sucked, and then I basically had to stricken you of it. I said I don't want an opinion at the
Strike.
end, and then
Okay.
you said and it
Null
sucked, and I'm
void.
like, you know what? You basically did the perfect flip, and then you stick the landing, you fell straight on your face, and then I'm
All
like,
right.
fail. You were
All right.
perfect, Andre. Like it was 99%. All you had to do is stick the landing. And you didn't. So wah, wah.
All right, I'll stick to
Rob,
landing.
perfect, great, 100%. You did it. The Russian judges give you 9.9. Great. And John, that was nice, but you lost me near the end about the marketing thing, and I was like, so
These guys know what they're doing. Whoever's in charge.
yeah, but I
and
didn't want to
running
know
things.
I wanted you to tell
That
me
wasn't
the
the
story.
question.
Oh,
That
okay.
wasn't the
All
story.
right. I don't know.
Again.
I felt it needed to be said because, yeah, Andre's going to get to talk for a while and might be a bit before he can get anything else in.
So the question was about the story, and yeah, anyway, so you
I think
had
that's part of the story.
the heroic
That's
journey
part of
was
the
good,
story.
and then at the end the marketing part didn't hit me. Anyway, so my point of that was
you've been listening to the podcast, listening to instructions with Stu.
so the purpose
As
of
you
that
can tell.
exercise was for our guests at home to figure out where people's opinions were without our guests or our opinion is telling them how they felt. So it was a nice game, except for Andre just flat out told you what the story was. Well, I guess it's fitting because like the Mandalorian, it's on a rail, on a track, and there it is. So I guess Andre big brained us all by giving us his thoughts. However, again,
He didn't want to bury the lead, Stu. He didn't want to bury the lead.
didn't want to bury the lead. So, anyways, hopefully, again, when I give instructions going forward, Andre will
Listen and heed them. Yes, I apologize.
It's all right. It was so good, Andre. So close. So close. Okay, so that hopefully was your brief summary of season 1, and now we're going to go to the next side, which is basically I want everyone to do a brief review of the show. So now I'm going to start again with Andre. So give us a brief review of season 1. In terms of, we did the summary. I want you to tell me your thoughts now on what you thought of the show without giving me a letter grade or number grade at the end. So I just want you to tell me your thoughts.
You have 240 words. Go.
Because the letter grade
And
I'll
you're out.
ask near the end of this. So just don't give me a letter grade or number grade. I have to lay it all out for you. I got to do the John Ho rules for you, Andre.
With this all
Right.
being said, we're going to know exactly by the time Andre's done talking what letter grade he is
Yeah, but I want to
assigning
know
this
how bad
particular work from this student, John Favreau.
Yeah. So I want you to give us your full, your review of the show and give us your thoughts on season 1. Again, season 1 of
Okay.
8 episodes.
Yes, so it was an 8-episode show following The Mandalorian, and it was created by Jon Favreau.
You don't need to give us this stuff. You just give us your review. Yeah.
I'm getting to it. And everybody who's listening, hopefully, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Of all the guys here, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan. Period. I am even wearing my Mandalorian.
Underwear.
No, it's a hoodie.
Is it Mandalorian? Is it just the Boba Fett one?
It's the Boba Fett one, not the.
It's not a Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Okay.
I don't know
All
about
right.
that one, but yeah, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
so-
Overrated, but carry on.
Well, that's a great word. Overrated. This series, it was 100% overrated. Going in, I was hoping Disney Plus would have reinvented how we watched and what we expected of television, especially from a streaming service. I was expecting this show to literally make everybody forget how good Game of Thrones was. And I would say overall, Stu, I mean visually and the amount of money they put, like what the depth of Game of Thrones. Listen, you can't deny that show, uh, uh, not counting the last season, that was amazing, right? And this show, it didn't live up to that. I thought it was extremely poorly written, extremely poorly plotted, and very much so extremely poorly executed in how they chose to tell the story. Now, John knows, because we talk about the store, and he's at the store most times with me. He's like, I didn't have any expectations for this show. I was just hoping that it would be at least in the same league, or they'd learned a lot from Star Wars Rebels, which every season got consecutively better and stuff. But this show from what its starting point was after the first two episodes, which kind of make that bookend of the movie or whatever. I think it was just all over the place. It was it was underrated for me. Now, I'm not knocking it from a visual standpoint. It looks great. I'm not knocking it from a sound effect standpoint. Like all the things that you expect of Star Wars. Like, even if you look at, the sequel trilogy, no one can argue that those movies do not look and sound good. And Mandalorian does look and sound Star Wars for the visual effects and sound effects. But after that, there's literally nothing else to it. And after watching some of the documentary about the show, like I can really see why. Like Favreau's really stuck on the old Western and the man with no name and stuff like that, and stuff. And I'm not knocking him as a director or anything, but you have to question when you have a main character that has a visor and you can't see his eyes, you can't see any of his facial expression, and that's what he wants to compare it to. And there's no comparison to that. I'm sorry, there's 3 different people playing the part of the Mandalorian, and none of them can emote the way Clint Eastwood does, or any person does in a Western, because those guys don't have to speak. You see in their eyes, you see in the snarl, you see in how they move and look at you. And you don't have that in the Mandalorian. And listening to those directors talk about, oh yeah, it's about how he moves and how he slowly does this. I'm like, no, you guys are missing it. The man with no name is not called the man with no face, right? So I there's so many of the directions that they took, and like it's fine to have that as the inspiration. Like you look at this thing and it's inspired totally by Lone Wolf and Cub, like you see in the Westerns. You can build upon that, but you can't have a character that after we don't learn his name until the 8th episode, right? And that's at the end, and you don't learn that the child isn't named at all. How am I connecting with this guy?
A
Right?
plush
Like
toy, Andre.
I
That's how you're connecting. That's everywhere.
say again.
Plush toys. You can just
Oh
buy.
yeah, sorry. Like John said, yeah, marketing. Yeah,
Just
it's
pick up the
genius.
plush toy. It's everywhere.
But
you want the Lego toys? It's available to
right,
you.
but going in, when you want me to connect with a character and a story to come back, right, you have to know something about that character and that character's ideology and where they stand and stuff like that. So I would say, like, yeah, my review, like, I don't even want to get into very much specifics about each episode, because I think each episode, they again took something that they wanted to be inspired by that had been already done in another like sci-fi genre or fantasy genre, and they just lamed it up. Like the episode 4, what was it called, Sanctuary, which is supposed to be like their 7 samurai. Again, it's so derivative. Every sci-fi show or genre show has done an episode like that, yet this one was just cheese. The dialogue is cheese. The acting, like when you got it, was cheese. Like for Star Wars, and what Star Wars has always been about has been taking kind of those tropes and then reinventing them and adding to them, right? And this doesn't do it. I'll give you a couple examples about what I'm talking about. Love the character of that Gina Carrera plays, right? She's an ex-soldier and stuff like that. And that first time you meet them, shock trooper, yeah, drop ship, it's cool. But then, she's fighting, she goes out and she fights the Mandalorian, right? Now, she does, like, this guy is in armor, brand new Beskar armor, which is like this hardest metal, and can repel blasters. And she's punching it. She doesn't have like gauntlets on or anything. She's just punching this dude. I'm like, what's going on? It was great when they got into the grappling and stuff like that. But I'm like, from that plot standpoint, it's like this guy's like a walking tank.
But she doesn't know Mandalorian armor is.
Oh no, she does. She does, because all the bounty hunters in the on the first planet, they all are like, oh, they're jealous of your armor. Everybody knows Beskar armor. You've heard of it, right? And then later on in the episode, you've got all this stuff. You've got
but it'd be like Elaine in Seinfeld, Andre. It's like, what? It's hot, and she touches it anyway. So like, I've never seen Beskar armor up close, so I want to see if it's actually as hard as they say it is.
But Stu, if you even see, like, if you don't know a guy, even just punching a stormtrooper, like you're not, like, just with your bare fists. Again, I know that's a little thing, but it's just like, she should have been smarter. She could have, and she was armed at the same point. They all had blasters. But it even gets worse, because like, at the end of that episode, they're talking about, he's like, oh, I'm going to leave the child here because he's safe here. And she's like, oh, you're going to break his heart, his little heart. How are you going to break this heart? This kid doesn't know who the hell you are. That was the first time we knew it was a boy. In any of those episodes, we didn't see any affection for him to this kid. Yet the fourth episode in, he's just like, oh, you're going to break his heart. How? I haven't even seen this guy rock the kid to sleep. He didn't feed the kid. He didn't do nothing. He's like, hey, kid, just follow me out of the ship. Hey, kid, I'm going to put you in a closet. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're going to break his little heart. What the hell are we watching? Like, again, the dialogue, I don't know. Like, Dave Filoni said multiple times, Star Wars is for kids. And I get that, like, but well-written stuff transcends kids, and everybody can watch and enjoy it. So yeah, my overall review, not a fan.
Perfect. Wrapping it up, because I'd like other people to speak at this time.
All
That
right.
was going long. 2 big points. Andre spoke to me privately. What he wants to do with the helmet is add 2 giant bubble eyeballs to move back and forth like Spider-Man.
Like Deadpool,
Deadpool, so you
Spider-Man.
can see how he's feeling. Or just 2 giant eyebrows on the helmets of all the helmets to go up and down and be like,
That'd be funny.
like
Floating eyebrows.
floating eyebrows. So that's
the only
new
solution, the only answer for Andre's problem is to have him take off the helmet. But this
No, but he
character
has
is
to
not-
wear the
is
helmet
not-
the
is not-
entire
Yeah,
time.
no, this character is not about that.
No,
So
no,
they're
but
kind of stuck.
That's
they
why
wrote themselves
Andre's a
into
genius. He
problem.
wants the eyebrows to be on the helmet to vertically move up and down, because that was the problem with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, was that his eyes didn't move, and that's why Tony Stark fixed it in the Spider-Man movies and be like, the lenses go in and out.
Can
So
I respond to John's?
They could maybe cut to a cross section and
Well,
show
well-
like what's going on inside of his helmet, like
we'll
an
go
Iron
on.
Man
Well,
in his thing. I guess.
Here's the thing. I'll let Rob go, and if it's still in your brain, Andre, we'll get back to it, because if it's important, you'll make a comment. If not, it's gonna just disappear.
No,
into
if
the-
Andre's responding to though the about John's whole thing about the mask, go ahead. Like, it doesn't.
Well,
If it's
again,
relevant to
Well, the
what
mask.
John's
Well, no, the mask thing is like, we'll get to it later. But
We're
yeah,
already
really,
on it. Just let him go.
let's go. Let's move on. Let's move on.
okay,
We'll move on.
go on,
Let's
Rob.
go on, because I have a feeling that Rob and John are not going to talk as much as Andre's soliloquy. So we're going to get back to that. Go ahead, Rob. I feel like Rob's going to be very quick in and out.
Oh my God, I'm going to be very long and slow.
I hope so. Let's see if it happens.
Slow and dry.
I have a tough time reconciling the fact that I might be leaning more towards Andre on this. So just, when Disney Plus was announced 2019 in the fall, everybody was excited. I bought the year-long membership. The Mandalorian was what sold the series. I was very excited to watch it. I watched it and I enjoyed it. I watched it with my son. The first 2 episodes, they dropped in the week 1, and then after that, it was subsequent Fridays. And so I watched it with my son, and who is a fairly big Star Wars fan, nowhere near the stratosphere of Andre, but big enough for at the time a 10-year-old. And we enjoyed it. And then when I haven't thought of it since it finished at the end of 2019, I really, I talked to some friends who didn't have Disney Plus. We watched it. Okay, fine. I'm coming at it again now as a guy a year later who tried to rewatch it, and I started to see more of what Andre was saying. In regards to the series as a whole. I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I think I convinced myself the first time in seeing it. I like Westerns. I'm a big Western fan. and it has that Western idea behind it. However, I don't understand the idea. Like the first 3 episodes I thought were really solid. I really liked episode 3 when he grabs the child, he takes off, and you've got all the Mandalorians helping out. And that was a lot of fun. And then I felt that episode 4, what Andre was saying, it really just dropped the needle completely. It was just really slow. And I didn't understand the entire, like, you're being chased throughout the galaxy. I get it, but then why come right back to where you were? Like, I felt that it was almost like, well, let's just have him leave, come back, and leave and come back again, because that'll be a lot of fun. And I didn't really.
Where's the last place they're gonna look? Where you were?
No, but I just didn't. Well, obviously everybody found him there, so I wasn't really into that progression. I don't mind the fact that he didn't remove his helmet, because let's face it, if everybody remembers what 1994 Judge Dredd was all about, everybody hated the fact that he removed his helmet and you saw Stallone's mug, right? So I prefer that he kept the helmet on. I agree with Andre. When you have 3 different actors portraying the character, there are physical differences between those 3 actors. One of them was walking like Timothy Olyphant, and that's not disparaging against Timothy Olyphant. I'm a huge fan of Justified and Deadwood, but he has a very certain walk to him, a lanky walk. And there are a couple episodes in the later part of the Mandalorian season where he's walking like that, but in the earlier parts, he's not. And so I know you're thinking, well, who cares about a guy walking? But it takes you out of the experience of watching the movie, or the show rather.
Yeah, like his hat might be backwards and the wrong way, might be.
No, but I also,
on.
yeah, 6 underground. I also come to this though as a guy who now has 11, almost 12-year-old son, and and maybe there are a lot of people out there who are kind of like me. You're just an average dude. You're just watching the stuff to be entertained. My son has watched every season of The Flash multiple times. He will rewatch movies. He will rewatch stuff. He has zero interest in rewatching Mandalorian season 1. And I bring that up because I think it's interesting. This show was, per Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, was kind of geared towards his age group. And yet the rewatchability factor, which we just talked about rewatchability movies last week's episode, it doesn't have it for this series. Now, I'm excited to kind of see season 2, and I think, why not? And he's excited to kind of watch it, but will he want to go back and review the episodes? I don't know about season 2, but for season 1, he has zero interest. I think that says a lot. So overall, I enjoyed it. I was entertained to a point, but I have no desire to go back and rewatch season 1. I did half of it for this show, and I have no desire to go back.
So quick question to you, Rob.
Yeah.
Do you I can say that a lot of the new trilogy is like fast food. It's very much actiony and a lot of stuff thrown at you, and I can see the rewatchability. And look at The Mandalorian, it's clearly not that. It's more artisan. So would you say that it's like the bun is more fancy, it's an artisan bun, and the meat is more fancy, but maybe not as much substance as like watching a movie like Attack of the Clones, which
hungry.
Is not better, but in terms of like rewatchability, in terms of like it's fast food, it's just sugar, it's just action, it's just stuff happening all the time. Do you think that that's kind of a good kind of description in terms of why your son is not interested into it? Because it's not
probably because I think listen, I like all types of different genres of TV shows. I can take comedy, I can take action, I can take drama. Like, listen, we've made no bones about it. I love The Wire as much as I've enjoyed season 1 of The Flash, just in turn, right? 2 different shows, but they give me the same amount of pleasure in watching it. Although The Wire is far superior.
That's not a question.
Right. But I think you're right. I think for my son, he's looking at it and he's like, okay, cool. It looks great, but I'm not getting that dopamine rush.
But in terms of like
get from the other,
it's kind of like comfort food, because you can watch Friends or one of those sitcoms in the background when you're doing laundry or kitchen or doing cooking or dishes, but you're not going to have The Wire in the background when you're doing that stuff. The Wire is something that you could watch, but how often do you rewatch The Wire? It's one of those movies or shows that it's great, but I'm not doing it that often. It's just not a show that is meant to do that. It's like a rich chocolate cake. You eat one episode or you watch one episode and you let it kind of sit for a while and you let your thoughts kind of permeate, compared to watching something like 50 Cent's Power. Like that show is like just action and all stuff all the time, but it's
listen, at the end of the day, I enjoyed season 1 of The Mandalorian for what I think visually it looks great. I just didn't for me, the rewatchability factor wasn't there. It was more of a slog than I had, to be honest with you, I had intended it to be. I'm looking forward to what season 2 has to offer, but if I don't, my expectations for season 2 are not. And I guess at the end of the day, what I'm going to close it out with is that I purchased Disney Plus membership predicated on what this show was. And if I was just strictly basing the value of Disney Plus for this show, was it a good return on investment? And for me, I would say no. I enjoyed it, but that's about it. I'm right in the middle of that. So, and I have a funny feeling that most people are probably in the same category.
Yeah. Kevin, are you there, or are you just no? Yeah, maybe so.
Of course I'm here. We're talking Star Wars. Did somebody say Star Wars?
Oh boy. Yeah,
oh no, he's driving.
I'm driving right now, gentlemen. Good morning. Is it still morning? Morning to you guys. I'm all discombobulated. I got called into CBC. I want to say late last night. It was more like early this morning. So I'm just coming home now, rushing up from downtown. I got to teach a cardio class at 11 o'clock. I got about 20 ladies looking for my sexy backside. But morning to you guys, morning to your fellow Jedis. It's a great day to talk Star Wars.
All right, Kevin. I'm gonna go back to you in a
Sorry,
second.
we're on Star Trek now, so unfortunately,
I gotta go.
We've moved to Spaceballs. Actually, we're moved to the next.
Oh no, yeah, I had to go back there, eh? Yeah, I had to go back to Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Hey, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Star Trek because I'm a big Star Wars guy. I used to watch a bit of Star Trek, but I really love my Star Wars. And it's really cool to see Picard and Skywalker in a commercial together.
Yeah.
That was funny.
For Uber Eats.
You know what? I thought if they had done that 20 years ago, it probably would have been really stupid, but I kind of find them a little entertaining. So it's kind of cool.
Okay, I'm going to let John finish his thoughts, and then I'm going to go to Kevin, because now you don't know anything, Kevin, which is perfect. And I'll ask you the same 2 questions I've asked everyone else. But John,
sweet. And then that'll let me get home and I can slip into my proper attire.
100%. And yeah, so I want you, John, to now give us your brief review.
You want to let Andre go. He looks like he's gonna murder me. So I'm just devil's advocate, Andre. So don't kill me.
No.
I'm just trying to,
But not at all.
See what
there
the
needs
people
to be
might
balance
say.
in the Force, John, and you, my young Padawan,
I don't have enough to balance.
balance.
Rob said he was straddling the middle, and then he ends up totally trashing the shit. So
Fine.
I didn't trash it.
No,
not at all.
That was a fair review. I as the mediator say it was a fair synopsis of it, and we're gonna let you go because I am listening and taking notes. So go for it.
Well, I think this show had a particular goal, and they wanted to achieve almost like a Fast and the Furious style TV show that's going to capture a lot of audience, like just mass appeal. So they I don't think it's going to be this in-depth show that some of you guys, even though you said you had no expectations, are expecting from it. So I thought, like, overall the character, like, I know Andre doesn't like the character development of this character, but I thought there was a pretty good arc for him. He starts off as a too cool for school bounty hunter who's like, I'm so cool, I walk into a bar, I say nothing, I kick all these guys' asses, I chop this guy in half with this door, and I get my bounty and I freeze him up and send him along his way. And then something happens along the way, and he finds this thing, and he's like, all right, the mission is the mission, I'm gonna get paid, I gotta finance this vintage ship that I'm flying. So he's like, okay, yeah, whatever, turn this thing in, takes the knob off his gear shift, whatever, and then he kind of like is like, hey, you know what, this is kind of neat. It's kind of like that feeling, like a lot of the younger guys or some people are like, I don't want kids until you have a kid, and you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So like, and then he just kind of like turns and he goes back, he breaks the pact. It's very uncharacteristic for a Mandalorian to ask about the blah 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 blah, right? So after he talks to Dracula, he's like, okay, I think
Werner
I changed my
Herzog
mind.
is not Dracula. First off, he's a tremendous director, which I love. And don't you besmirch.
Does he talk like that in every movie he's in?
Yes.
He actually does talk like that. He's German,
Every
damn it.
movie,
Like, why do I gotta
every
jump
movie.
on this? This is
So you could
100%.
replace him with Adam Sandler's voice, and you probably might get a similar effect. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No. Don't you besmirch Werner Herzog. But yes,
All
continue.
right. This guy. All right. Anyways, he just ends up he ends up changing as his character and starts to learn how to do things, and then he ends up like, I know we're probably going to get to the episode with all the comedians in it. He could very well have murdered all those guys at the end of that episode, but he I feel like he's changed. He's grown. He's like, oh, I can't just go around murdering these things. Like, I have this thing that I'm taking care of. I'm changing my ways. And then he kind of always seems to do, like, even though he seems so cool, he seems like the anti-hero. He always seems to kind of do the right thing and make the good guy decision. So it's kind of like I'd say it's more of like a straightforward, simple show with it's got all the special effects and explosions, and they wanted to show off all these things, and they filled it with so many Easter eggs that it's ridiculous. They have a whole episode of the documentary that's just dedicated to all the Easter eggs they threw in there, and I was like, damn, this is crazy, right? So overall, I liked it, and I truly wasn't expecting anything from it. I just and shows like you mentioned it, The Wire and things like that. And Game of Thrones. Andre mentioned Game of Thrones. I haven't watched them. I start to watch them, I get a couple episodes in, and then I'm out. There's too much talking maybe for me. I know maybe that makes me a not smart or whatever, enough to watch those type of shows. Like, I'm sure there'll be comments about that, but there's something to be said about a show that I can turn on. I watch beginning to end every time it airs on Friday, because I feel like TV isn't even on a schedule anymore. So I did tune in every Friday to watch it, or whatever the day it was supposed to come out. So and it kept me. I watched the whole thing instead of bailing halfway through. So that.
But that was that only because we talking about a podcast and you were afraid that we're going to yell at you for not watching an episode, or is that intrinsically you felt like watching it?
This was before our podcast, so we didn't really have to watch this per se.
Because we are dragging Andre to a gulag if he doesn't watch his show. So it's a very different experience for you compared to Andre. Andre is watching it in fear of being dragged away and beaten. You are watching it out of pure love of the film or love of the franchise. Like, what is you just like it? That's pretty much it.
I just liked it. It's kind of like Rob mentioned a little bit. It's got that Western feel. It's also got the Star Wars feel. Mm-hmm. It's got a Firefly feel. It's got like all these kind of feels from stuff that I liked, and I just watched it all. So,
That's interesting.
I don't know what else to say other than I like it. Just fit exactly what I needed it to be, and maybe I am in the majority of.
Well, I think you're a good representation
maybe,
of someone who doesn't
right?
have the lore knowledge that Andre has. Andre is an encyclopedia of Star Wars lore. He, somehow said the greatest Mandalorian, but there is truly a greatest Mandalorian, and he was a Jedi. So that's all you need to know about that. Do you know his name, Andre? The greatest Mandalorian Jedi there ever was, that united all the factions. And
it's Hugh Jackman, right? That movie, right? The greatest Mandalorian.
No, it was Army Hammer.
The greatest Mandalorian is Kando Orderus from Old Republic, the video game. Come on now. Come on.
We're talking about actual lore in your beloved Star Wars Rebels TV show. What is his name?
He's not the greatest Mandalorian, though. He just happened to be the first and only Mandalorian Jedi. Anyways, let's move on and not bore people.
Can you give us his name?
I don't remember his name.
You just stumped the Schwab. Congratulations.
Taro Vesla Vesla is and that full circle because he is the one that has the dark saber. He was the one that created the dark saber, who united the brands and united the clans and the brands and clans. So I think that's a good representation, because John, who does not know the full catalog of Star Wars, just enjoyed the show.
But let me get in here for a couple minutes while Kevin's setting up. Okay, so I think there's a couple different things going on here. I think the show, like John can enjoy the show, everybody can enjoy the show, and I'm not looking for the show to be 100% Star Wars, but I'm looking for a TV show to have some quality.
Keep in mind, this is the first Star Wars live action ever. Right,
that is also true. Right? I was going to mention that. That was
like it's not like the animated where this is the 5th, 6th, 7th iteration.
Right. But
to your point, Andre, I want to bring back to your point. While Kevin's pretty much almost there, signing up.
He's
I
the
agree with
baby
you in
Yoda.
points of what Star Wars. Your points about how it changed the genre is 100% correct in terms of cinema. But this is a different situation, a different
They're
medium,
kind of late.
as in
They're
the
late to the
television
game,
show.
to be honest.
So
They're
it's
late to the game.
just it's not about late to the game. It's you can't.
I think they are.
grade
I think they
movies and
are.
television the same level.
I think
Because if you look
can.
at it, if
I
you look
think
at
you
it, The
can.
West Wing and The American President are pretty much the exact same thing, except for one was a movie written by Aaron Sorkin, and one was a TV show written by Aaron Sorkin. And then they have the same character who was the VP and then became the president. And then one had Michael J. Fox, one had Rob Lowe. So these are similar things. And you would say that as much as I enjoy The American President, the television show was far superior just based on the fact that it was a television show.
Right, but because it was longer. But to roll back and say, oh, this is the first Star Wars live action TV show. Yeah, except they have like what? How many? 12 movies that are live action to pull and draw on. And there's instances where they have learned, like, if you don't take your experiences from writing Clone Wars and writing Rebels and writing these movies in order to have something that has conceivable dialogue and characterization. Like, I'm glad John pulled those character nuggets from the Mandalorian, but John's also coming from it from a very different place. He does have two young kids, so he's looking and he's imprinting that, because to me, yeah, it's great. I don't know where that change of heart was from.
But I think that you mentioned it too, Andre, and one of your points before was you mentioned that it is kind of playing with one hand tied behind its back because of this Western trope that they decided to use. There's a lot of things in a Western that is hindering the story and hindering the character development, because when you're saying it's a Western, there's a lot of these, the man with no name and all these different things about Western.
Stu, I'm glad you said that. So that to me goes back to Favreau being, for some reason, inept in adapting what a Western could be in a Star Wars motif. Because if it's not working, you make it adapt. You adapt. You change things. Like, you can have a grizzled cowboy in Star Wars, but you can't have a guy that you can't see his face, and then you make up the bullshit reason that a Mandalorian can't take off his helmet.
We discussed this numerous times already. There's many subsections of a religion and very subsections of the Mandalorian clans. So that's just one thing of it, but I don't think they said it as like every Mandalorian is that way. So it's hard to say without that.
The show so they could recast, and that guy just comes in and does voice work. Like, he's already played by 3 dudes, which I actually thought was cool, because now you have an authentic gunfighter doing your gun moves. You have an authentic fighter doing your fighting moves, and you have a dude that acts, quote
Well, this is the problem that happened in all the Marvel TV shows when you cast a guy in Iron Fist that can't fight. Is that you need guys to dress up, and
that problem, right? If he had a stunt double or he wore a mask, then you could have had a guy that could fight and create the authentic martial arts that would look cooler.
All right, I got to jump to Kevin because I think he's ready to go. Kevin, this is my question to you. I want you to start off with, and everyone started this already, I want you to give me a summary of the show, of the season 1. In your opinion, without a grade, without a mark, I want you to tell people what you think happened in season 1. Go.
Wow. First off, good to be on, guys. Yeah. I like season 1 because
don't tell me why you like it, just tell me what happened. The exercise, what happened? Like, if you had to describe, let's say I came to you, it's like, Kevin, what happened in season 1, without giving me what you liked or what you didn't like. What was the Cliff Notes summary? Remember when they used to do Cliff Notes? What happened in season 1? Just tell me what happened in your own words. What happened in season 1?
Well, you have this Mandalorian Boba Fett style character for people that don't understand or know what a Mandalorian is. And here he is. He comes in and like you mentioned, he was, this alpha male, but soon to find out that he really wasn't as high ranking as we thought, because he still had armor to achieve, which I thought was really, really cool that they put into it. I love to see every scene coming back when he'd have something different put on or whatnot. But again, he gets a mission. And just like everything else, you go on a mission and something goes awry. I like the fact that he, me as a father of 4 kids, I like the fact that he softened up to the child. How you doing? He softened up to him and then became his protector. And I really, really enjoyed all of the scenes. And I know you don't want me to do this, but I enjoyed all the scenes.
That's the next question. I want you to tell me what
child.
happened in season 1.
What?
I want you to tell me because this is not helping. I
Okay.
don't know what's going on. You're telling me stuff.
What Stu is saying is I'm still in the lead.
Right,
Or actually he's doing a proper
so
summary.
100%.
he's off. He has to protect this child, and and it sends him on a whirlwind of Star Wars-esque type issues. There's always a bigger fish, storylines from Star Wars, and just taking you through. It's hard to explain it without saying the things that I like about it. That was a good question.
That's the next question. But I want you to just tell me a summary. This is hard, apparently.
I know it is a little bit. It's like I watched it once. I only think there's only 2 episodes that I actually watched twice. But I mean, like he ends up having to go through a whirlwind of just experiences and challenges, and then you have the Woody Harrelson character that turns on him, and you know what I mean? I didn't see some of this stuff coming, and just it's hard for me to explain like exactly what happened because I know stuff and I don't know stuff. And
He's mixing in some solo stuff.
Oh boy,
this is like, what's going on? What
I know, I was like,
not in
wait.
this? Okay, all right, okay, I got it.
That means Carl Weathers' character
Weathers,
betrayed
yes.
him.
Carl Weathers.
But isn't that a problem?
That's
Isn't
a
that
problem,
like,
agreed.
and not to take away from like obviously, I think Kevin would probably come out on the side of really enjoying the series. But if it's difficult to be able to properly summarize, isn't that inherently an issue with the show then?
No, I think you're just really good at this, Rob, and everyone else can't do it. So I think
Exactly.
we
I
surveyed
accept that
100
answer.
people.
Thank you.
You were good at this,
Where he
Rob.
goes to the other world.
You are succinct, and if I had to survey 100 people, you got an A+ for that. So thank you. So Kevin,
Yeah, I listened to it. He did a great job explaining it. I wasn't really prepared to explain exactly what happened in the whole season. But
you don't have to be prepared. I just wanted to know, like, again, if you had to do like a pitch in an elevator, be like, "What is the Mandalorian?" You have a set time. Can you tell me what happened? Like, I just wanted to know what people.
I think I could explain this to a Jedi faster than I could explain it to a Trekkian, like a Star Trek person. Because I mean, honestly, there's just so much going on, and like, there's so much that you know.
Okay. So
There's
now
things you're
let's go into
anticipating.
what he
now
liked.
that's done. So now you tried, Kevin. I appreciate
I
it.
failed.
Star Wars stuff happened.
Star Wars stuff happened. This is your first time in the cave. You saw the helmet. It was you. We're gonna bypass this. We're gonna go to trial number 2. So trial 2 is tell us how you felt. So now all the things you liked, you talked about, it was seeping out of you like a leaky faucet. Tell me what you liked about season 1. Tell me your review of season 1.
What I first liked about season 1 was,
Or disliked, whatever.
they took it back to simplicity. I really like the fact that there wasn't a lot of like fluff. There wasn't a lot of like over talk. And these are some of the things that I think really hurt Game of Thrones, hurt a lot of other shows. It just talk too much. Like right now, I'm a big Walking Dead guy, and Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and now they've released this Walking Dead universe, and I'm like you're really telling me a bunch of kids are gonna save the world? Like, okay, done. Like, forget it. But anyways, like, just too much talking, too much fluff. Something that happened with Sons of Anarchy too. It was just like I think they wanted to stretch the show out, so they just kept putting in all these different characters, and some episodes would just crap. I really loved every single episode. They did introduce a bunch of new characters, and then with some Easter eggs on some characters that I'm really looking out for. Sabine, the return of Ahsoka, like for season 2. But getting back to season 1, I really like the simplicity. I loved all the interaction between the Mandalorian and the child. And just getting to just I love looking in the background too. I love looking in the background for Easter eggs, especially in the bar scenes and when he's flying the ship and when he's going to different places. I'm just trying to look for anything, whether it be, I don't know, Jawa juice or just characters or anything that I can just pick up on and say, yeah. But as to sum it up, I really liked season 1 for the fact that they kept it simple. They didn't try to introduce a whole bunch of new characters so that they could throw you with a whole bunch of new toys. And I really, really hated that whole Illuminati the whole Illuminati thing that they went on in Rogue One. I just can't stand that crap. But anyways, I really love the simplicity of season 1. I love the soundtrack. I love the visuals, and I love the interaction between the Mandalorian and the child.
Perfect. Thank you. That was a good. Now we know where you stand. So
we
now
put Kevin in running.
We're gonna give you a break because
we put
we're
Kevin
gonna
in
start
at
with
full sprint.
Andre. This is the hardest thing you're gonna have to do. No, actually, I'm gonna switch it up. Andre, out of all the things of season 1, what did you hate the most? What was the one
that's
thing
gonna be
that you
easy
can...
for Andre?
Andre,
It's hard
I was
to
gonna go the other
pinpoint-
direction, but what's
pinpoint
the one
one.
thing that you hate the most in
Like,
season 1? One thing. That's
Well,
why it's hard for
the-
Andre.
the
because-
writing.
He could go Favreau, and then
Yeah,
just
yeah,
everything trickles down from
the
him.
writing.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I think made me dislike it the most was the fact that Jon Favreau wrote everything, and the writing is so poor in this show. I think maybe if I could have the option of what, maybe I'll try watching an episode, and I'll take out the dialogue, and maybe it works better as a silent film. Because
With
his
subtitles?
dialogue is bad and his story is worse. The plot stuff is just worse. It's So writing, and Favreau's the guy credited with all writing all the episodes. So that's what I hated the most.
So on a quick side note, did Favreau slight you as a retailer? Is that one of
No.
the reasons? Or no? He's one of
Partly, but
okay. It's good to know.
No, but listen, okay, let me get in a little bit. But again, if you guys listen to the dialogue in this show, and it's not a question of it being simple or there's not a lot of it and stuff like that. It is just like bad.
Is it an homage to a lot of Lucas bad writing that happens in some of these
It's no
scenes?
Firefly.
There's
Yes.
no Star Wars movie that has dialogue as bad as The Mandalorian, and plot writing as bad as the dialogue. There is
So-
not. Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. Nope, not as bad.
even the Senate scenes where they're talking about.
They're not as bad. No,
The
honestly,
Asian aliens,
it.
yeah. Jar Jar.
I think the Illuminati stuff and that whole Illuminati planet, that you could have just taken that right out of the whole thing. I rolled my eyes.
The
in
Crimson,
beginning.
whatever it is. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Andre, thank you. Rob, what's the one thing you hated the most on the Mandalorian season 1?
As a theme, I just didn't understand the back and forth. I just, and I think I touched upon this in my mini review, is that the entire season, I get the chase, but the going back and forth made no sense. If I was to pick out one specific episode, though, I think it would be chapter 5, which was the gunslinger, when he goes to Tatooine and he picks up this really annoying guy who says he's a bounty hunter, and I didn't understand what was the point. We've talked a lot about episodes of TV shows where there's too much. They're like, you should be 10 and you've made 13 episodes. And yet in this, I was like, okay, you guys made 8 episodes. They should be solid. But they weren't 8 solid episodes. I would contend
3 solid episodes.
Yeah.
Even 4 at most. 4,
Yeah.
maybe 4.5 solid episodes. So what was the point of this? It didn't progress the story at all. And this is, I guess, my problem is that I just didn't really feel like, I get what John says about the character development. I understand what Kevin says about his interaction with the child and all that, but I didn't understand what's the point? What's the point of the story? You get from the start to the finish. There's a lot of crap in the middle that it didn't really make a difference as to what happened at the end. So that would probably be my biggest issue with this series.
Okay, John, you're up.
I think Ara makes a good point, and I'm sure Andre will mention it too, that there are 2 to 3 filler episodes, which tends to happen with a lot of TV, and with a show so tight as this, and they had very short episodes. It's kind of weird that they would throw those filler episodes in. I would choose that episode where he's on the ship, even though it did show I like that at the ending it showed that he didn't murder those guys, and he let them live, where he could have well just murdered them. But I would say a lot of the comedians that they brought in to play those parts are very cringe, especially a girl with knives on a ship full of robots, which was really an odd choice.
I disagree with you on the comedian aspect of it. I know people
I thought Bill Burr. I understand why they did it. All those comedians have their own followings, and they have.
Well, no, it's not even about that.
I
think it's not about the marketing. I think
it is 100%.
So James Cameron in the movie picked Paul Reiser, who was a comedian because of his fan base.
No,
he
hold
picked
on,
Bill
Stu.
Paxton because he was a comedian. Like
literally,
this falls back for science fiction.
No,
brings
listen.
a person of comedy. Like they bring these people in, and even on the beloved West Wing, they brought in comedians to typically like Patricia Heatonson from
Stu, I gotta cut you off. Sorry, I watched all of those episodes, the making of the Mandalorian, and literally Favreau says, we are not George Lucas. We cannot tell you what is cool. So we brought on people we thought were cool. And that's why, and they were talking about the Bill Burr episode and stuff like that. So these guys have Dave Filoni, who's been making Star Wars since Clone Wars. So he knows what's cool and what works for Star Wars. But again, Favreau didn't listen to him and literally chooses to bring on these people. I'm telling you, that was right in the episode. It was a conscious decision, and they did it for marketing because they wanted eyes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it, but that was in there. That was right from the horse's mouth.
So they said it's for marketing purposes?
No, they said that they didn't know what was cool, so they brought on cool people. They said we can't make this cool.
Again,
I'm not paraphrasing.
No,
dude.
no,
okay,
no,
I'm
no,
gonna
no,
show
no,
you
no.
the clip.
No,
trust me,
that's
watch
fine.
it.
Cool people, but don't
What did it
hang your
take?
hat on the fact that it's for marketing. That's
Of
what
course,
I'm
it's for marketing. Why else would you bring Bill Bergen? Because you want
of
those
course it's
people's
for marketing.
audiences.
No,
You
Andre.
This is anybody. It didn't freaking matter who put on the prosthetics, dude.
No,
they
no,
did it just
no.
like when.
I don't
Dude,
care what you
you're
say.
crazy.
It's not
Just
about
like-
marketing because
just like
again,
when they were-
unless
they were
someone says it,
making
you cannot
episode
bring up
7.
facts about this is the way it is, and then sneak in marketing. You're not Trump. You're not sneaking in stuff about in your
So
arguments.
why
about
else
stuff.
do
So-
it? Why else?
Because
do it?
there's a history of science fiction and adding comedy actors. If you look back at all these James Cameron, other movies, they bring in usually a comedian or someone else that's typically not side of the genre, and they add it to the movie. And it's something different and adds a little bit, either brings a comedian actor to add a little bit of comedy in it, or adds
Did Bill Burr add
and
any
switch it.
comedy to that episode?
He did.
He
I
added
laughed.
some levity. I
He,
think we also
the Gungans,
can't
and he made the
focus-
whole thing.
You can't always just focus on Bill Burr as a comedian. The guy has a fairly deep roster of acting credits to his name. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. So yes, he added some levity to that episode. That's one episode I think is fairly well done for what it was trying to do. But I wouldn't focus on the fact that he's a comedian. Like we're not bringing in, name any comedian, Jeff Foxworthy, right?
But you make this conversation of Bob
I hate Jeff
Odenkirk.
Foxworthy, just for the record.
I love Bob Odenkirk from Mr. Show. I think it's one of my favorite shows ever. But I never would have expected for him to come in as a comedian, as Jim McGinnis or Better Call Saul, and look at how great of an actor he is. It's like if even you look at these actors who started off in comedy who can do serious movies. Like again, it's hard to do. So starting off with and Breaking Bad, where Bill Burr and all these guys were in, it shows up as comedians, but they were taking a serious tone. Again, I think for marketing is a whole, because the people that are listening to, if you listen to one of his comedy albums or on YouTube or on Netflix, I don't think that's the group of people that are going to jump over to watch Star Wars. He loves hockey. I don't think, and talks about the Bruins and Boston sports. Those guys are not going to be like, let me now watch The Mandalorian. So I think it's a different thing. So let me just jump over to Kevin, because again, Kevin, what was your favorite thing, or the worst thing of season 1?
I wanted to see some more Jedis, man. I was hoping to see Ezra, Ahsoka, something. Even if I saw the back of their heads, walking out of a bar or something like that. I kind of wanted a little bit more of that.
But the question to you is, would it be earned if you got it in season 1? It's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Nick Fury just showed up for no reason. It's like, it's a little too soon for that, isn't it? Like, wouldn't you want it in season 2? Like, if they just gave you ice cream at the beginning of your meal, is that what you want? Ice cream, but do you want it in the beginning of the meal? You want it at the end?
Yeah, I think this season and this arc of Star Wars canon did a better job of sticking to Star Wars and not worrying so much about, okay, make sure they see this doll 18 times, make sure they see this. I thought that some of the newer stuff that they put out did a little bit too much of Disney. And you walk into a Disney store right now and it's absolute shite coming from a Star Wars collector. But that was probably it for me. I didn't There were a couple of characters I wasn't too, didn't really care much for, but yeah, I would have loved to see some more lightsabers.
Okay, got it. That's a very valid take. Now, Andre, now's the hardest question for you. What was your favorite thing in The Mandalorian season 1? What did you enjoy the most?
Oh gosh.
And don't say that it ended in 8 episodes.
The conclusion.
I only had to watch 8 episodes. That was my favorite part. Thank God it wasn't 12.
So weren't 9 episodes.
Give me something positive here.
I like Nick Nolte's
I was gonna say he's gonna pick Nick
character,
Nolte's guy.
and when he has spoken, and then of course
Yeah.
they didn't understand who they had, and they killed him off at the end of the series.
Maybe Nick Nolte didn't want to do more. So, but yeah.
I was that surprised me. I thought he would have been able to get away, but when they made sure they went back and showed you he's dead. I was like, ah.
Well, happens in westerns. People die even in a galaxy far, far away. Thank you, Andre. That was very nice. John, no, Rob, go, Rob.
It's tough because I've already proclaimed how much I love episode 3. I thought it was a great episode. I agree with Andre. Nick Nolte stuff was good. If I'm going to pick one thing though, if I think The Mandalorian, the one thing that pops into my head is that last episode where the 2 stormtroopers are on the speed bikes and they're trying to shoot, and there's always been because it's so indicative of what people always talk about, like the most silly aspects of Star Wars and how stormtroopers can't shoot properly. And you have these 2 guys sitting on the speed bikes and they're trying to shoot that and they're just unable to. For me, I was like, it's completely wackadoodle in terms of the overall story of The Mandalorian. And yet that little scene brought me so much joy because I was like, this is kind of some funny shit, right? Like, it's outside of what we're dealing with. And yet it was kind of funny because it tied into a whole 9 movie series about how these guys can't shoot properly. For me, it was just that little thing has made me laugh. So that was if I'm not going to pick a specific episode.
Yeah.
If I'm not picking a specific episode, if I had to pick one little moment, that would be it.
That was Adam Pally and Ted Lasso himself, Jason Sudeikis, as the voices of those 2 stormtroopers for those at home.
Just some funny stuff. That's all.
Kevin, what did you like the most? What was the one thing you liked the most in season 1? And you like a lot, so this is gonna be hard for you. This is the hardest question for you.
I liked a lot because there was stuff that they from other Star Wars canon that they didn't introduce into this, and like again just flooding you with characters and flooding you with all kinds of imagery of stuff that just to me has nothing to do with Star Wars. Just give me Star Wars. I don't need any clickbait or click past as the kids call it. Just give me Star Wars and that's it. So what did I like the most or what did I hate?
The most. You already did hate already. You wanted more Jedis. Give me the thing you like the most.
More Jedis. I think it just felt more like Star Wars, even than Last Jedi for me. I just felt, and I know what I like too. I'm glad that they did this series now. I think if they had done this back in the 70s or the 80s, maybe even the early 90s, they wouldn't have been able to capture. It would have been some of the scenes and some of the space scenes and just some of the things that they're able to do with the technology that we have right now. That's another reason why I love watching Star Wars, because I want to see the development. I want to see the storyline that I've been following my whole entire life finally just play out. And, I don't have to read it. I don't have to imagine it. It's in my face. I bleed Star Wars, people. You guys know this.
Yeah, I can imagine Kevin having his action figures out, making stories because I got nothing else going on. So
swinging out to a shot of his lightsabers.
It's been rough over COVID, man. Okay.
Rob has his helmet on the side too, but he was he's ready to go. Okay, so thank you for sharing. Now it's the part of the time when
you didn't ask John what he liked.
Oh yeah, John.
Oh yeah, I actually too was gonna pick the trooper scene that Rob picked because I've always had this secret fantasy of creating a show that features the henchmen of these bumbling super villain bosses. So either Cobra Commanders, like a bunch of Vipers sitting around the water cooler going, man, Cobra Commander busted through this wall, wrecked our whole mission or whatever. So I was gonna pick that, but I'll go with my second choice and I'll actually pick Cara Dune, who was the Gina Carano character. I know she isn't the best actor, but I feel like some characters should be able to, like some people should be able to grow and learn. Like, so this is her first time getting a part like this, and she's really embracing it. And the fact that I think she did an interview talking about that she doesn't have the typical body, the body size for Hollywood. She's got like big calves and like she's kind of like a little bit more muscular and bigger. And during that documentary, they show that she's strong enough. Like there's a point where she picks up the Mandalorian, hauls him off to the side, and she literally did that in the show. No wires, no harnesses, no nothing.
She does all her own stunts.
Yeah, she picked up a full size dude.
Though, you know what
Don't
bothered
you
me though?
think?
You know what bothered me though about her stuff? It's the same. I every time I see these former wrestlers turned actors or MMA fighters they always fall into the same
fighter,
always
quasi.
doing suplexes. Like think about Roddy Piper in They Live. His entire fight scene that he has with Tiny Lister is always wrestling moves. It's the same that she did in episode 3 when you first meet her, episode 4. Sorry, is that she just give us something else. Don't fall on these same because I think you get pitched.
I don't think it's her deciding. I think the people that cast him.
I agree
when
with
The
you,
Rock showed up in Star Trek, he was still a wrestler who did the people's eyebrow.
They just kind of want to merge.
Fought 7 of 9.
No, but all I'm saying is that it takes you away. It takes you away when you're relying. Like, show me her boxing and kicking the crap out of somebody as opposed to relying on these. On the moves that you would see, that's all I'm saying is that
Hulk Hogan showed up as a wrestler, as Thunder Lips. You just got to start there and go somewhere else. This is what it is, Rob. You got to pay your dues and start up. But don't worry, she's in season 2, so lots of stuff. Okay, so that was thank you, John. Sorry for missing you as Kevin shows stuff.
My choice was technically the same as Rob, so I was like, whatever, matter. Let's go. We got time.
But here's the thing, like that's a secret thing of Hollywood where everybody wants to be a stormtrooper. Like just even 007 himself wore stormtrooper outfit, showed up on set one day. Like both the future king of England, wore a stormtrooper outfit and walked around the set of Star Wars. Everyone wants to be a stormtrooper, which makes no sense, but I think it's just a thing that people want to do. So that's
I think that's ridiculous. I want to be a Jedi. Give me a.
But you're not going to be in a Star Wars movie as a Jedi. You're going to be in a Star Wars movie as a cameo as a stormtrooper. So this is you don't get to be a Jedi.
I'll be that little thing. I'll be that little thing with Jabba.
Salacious Crumb. Yes. Salacious Crumb.
Hang out with Leia and lick Leia. Come on.
Yeah, which we go through. Okay, so now it's part of the letter grade. So Andre, give us a grade of season 1.
I'd probably give it a D.
A D? Oh, that's pretty good. I'm surprised. Generous. Thank you.
B or D?
D.
It's like I said,
a D.
Yeah,
Not a B.
The visuals and the sounds effects were good. It's just the other stuff was not good, So it's barely a passing grade.
Hey, Andre,
you got it. Wait, Kevin, you got to slow down. You got to let other people go. I'm gonna get you go. Rob, what do you grade it out of? And I'm sure Andre says that because it won so many Emmy awards, and you can't dispute awards. So as me and Rob are like, look, the Mandalorian won awards for technical.
That's right.
Sound, not acting, but technical sound effects, special effects, costumes. But yeah, Rob, what is your grade?
C+.
Ooh, all right, John.
I give it a B.
Kevin.
I give it a B+.
All right, now you have did you want to rebut Andre at one point? No, that.
Well, Andre was, student president at Markham High, and I just want to make sure a D technically is a passing grade.
It is. Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Just want to make sure you passed. Yes, by the skin of its teeth, based on technical merit. Yeah. It's kind of like he just showed up to class, and we have to pass it because you showed up to class, not because you excelled. But you just you were there. Your body was in the classroom.
Andre gives it a passing because all the reusing of actual Star Wars props. He's like, oh yeah, you get a little something because you
handed in your test. You wrote your name on it.
From the other movies,
it's fine. You passed.
I'm just really surprised that Andre didn't mention that his favorite person in character was Taika Waititi. I'm really surprised, Andre, that you didn't
definitely not
bring. You didn't mention that. So hey,
And shout outs to all the Asians that are showing up in the Star Wars canon. Love that, man. Yeah. Sorry.
So
unapologetic.
Things are happening. Things are happening. Okay, here we go. So we're now that if you've watched Mandalorian season 1, here we go. We're gonna jump quickly to talk about season 2. I'm gonna do a brief update on what we know so far, and then I'm gonna have everyone in order give us predictions of what you think is gonna happen in season 2. So the news has been fast and furious. We've heard a lot of stuff. So we know for sure season 2 is 8 episodes. We know for sure that Dave Filoni is directing episodes. Peyton Reed is directing an episode. Robert Rodriguez is directing an episode. Carl Weathers is directing an episode. So we have diversity in terms of directing, which is great. We have lots of rumors that not confirmed, but we know that we have Terminator star Michael Biehn is going to be an episode of The Mandalorian. We know that Rosario Dawson is in the show as pertain. What is she doing? Who knows? But she's there. We know that the original Boba Fett is going to be in the show. We don't know what, whether he is actually a clone or acting as himself. And we know that Katie Stackhoff is in the show as Bo-Katan. She's something. And Timothy Oliphant has been cast as well in an undisclosed role. We also know that WWE star diva herself, Sasha Banks, has been cast in an undisclosed role.
Pat very excited.
Pat super excited.
Seen in the trailer in dark Jedi-like robes.
Yes,
standing there.
And I need to. Someone can correct me. Boba Fett's actual name, the director of New Zealand, is Tamora
Morrison.
Thank you. I was gonna I butchered his name. He's the one I can't say.
Dad?
I can say Idjithau Edgiathor, but I can't say that one. So there we go, Andre. We're even again.
Hey, have you guys heard John trying to say Rorschach? Because that's just as equally funny.
So that is what we know of season 2, and we know trailers. There's a bunch of Star Warsian characters that's going to be in here. So Andre, you're up first. What do you think is going to happen? What is your prediction for season 2? Now that you know all those characters are in this.
So I think I have to watch season 2, but I'm,
well, yeah, you have to. Yeah, we talked about this before. You're going to a gulag if you don't.
Yeah.
So outside of that,
I think unfortunately for me, what they're gonna do is they're trying to right the ship, and they're taking a lot of stuff from Rebels and throwing it into this show, and I think it's unearned, and I think it's going to be doing a disservice, because I think really Filoni and all the guys who worked on Rebels and Clone Wars should have the chance to finish their story the way they want.
They finished the story the way they wanted.
No, if you watch Rebels, there's another potential part to it. And I just think I think if they're gonna put Ahsoka in, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, and they're using allegedly, and then rumors are Sabine's gonna show up. These are characters that I don't think they've earned the right to use in this show. Now, could it make the show better? Yes. If Filoni gets writing tasks and Favreau's not writing, 100% it could make it better. But unfortunately, from what they've shown us, in my opinion, only my opinion, what they showed me, I guess maybe you could say that the show can only get better, but it's just so bad, and the characters are so like dull and flourished, that I don't want to see these characters that I really enjoy, like Ahsoka and Sabine. I don't want to see them get misrepresented or miswritten in this. Best case scenario for me is that either, like I said, Dave Filoni takes over and is able to write them in, or they're just one-off characters. They're one and done. It's just like, oh, we're just Ahsoka's in one episode, peace out. Bo-Katan's in one episode, peace out. Because like I said, I don't think, as the show is, from what they've shown me for what they're capable of in this series, is that they're capable of nothing.
So what is your prediction of season 2? This is you've given me your thoughts, but what do you think's going to happen in season 2?
Oh, what do I think is going to happen?
Yeah, that was the question.
Okay, sorry. I think what's going to happen is that they're going to go as the season 1 ended, the Mandalorian blacksmith, she's like, oh, you've got to earn your clan, and you've got to find out where Baby Yoda is. So I think he's going to go on a quest to find a space wizard, because apparently Mandalorians forgot what a Jedi was, even though it takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And then they'll run into Sabine, and then Sabine will say, I know where Ahsoka is. And then they'll be like, oh, I can't train the kid because it's too young, but we don't know where the planet of the Yodas are, so we'll try and find that.
He did, yeah.
To be fair, didn't Han Solo not believe in Jedis either? And he is he was former stormtrooper and all those other things too. Didn't the Imperials?
He didn't believe in the Force. He didn't not believe
First.
in Jedi. Yeah.
And even the several high-ranking admirals on a starship didn't believe in the Jedis or the Force.
Yeah, but that's because
He made them believe, though.
it. Couldn't say it, right?
Yeah, but I always say before, if we're all in a room and we heard rumors of a guy that could use the Force and choke people out, we'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's not real. Until you got to see
You're
it to
gonna test
believe
the
it.
guy though? I'm from Scarborough. I just kind of know you don't mess with that kind of stuff. I'll take it as canon.
As face value, yeah.
Again,
don't prove it. I'm good.
I need you to prove it. So if I don't see it, well, it's the same thing.
Well, you
happens
grew
on the
up
internet.
in Markham. You didn't grow up in Scarborough.
Pixar
So
didn't happen. Pixar didn't happen. Video didn't happen. So
yeah,
this is
you
how
know,
it is.
you
met
know,
something else.
as Kevin says, you don't challenge a guy to prove he's badass. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go back and play my NES.
So quick point, Andre, on in a perfect situation, the characters you mentioned, whether it is Sabine or Ahsoka, this has always been your dream to get more spotlight on them and to get people to watch Rebels. So if they were to come in the show, and I guess and they get spun off into another show of their own, is that the worst case scenario? Do you just want more of the animated, or do you want them to be on their own live action TV show? Because this is what's looks like it may be. It may be if they.
That's exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think my big fear is that we had a character created called Ahsoka Tano in Clone Wars. She made her first appearance in the Clone Wars movie that actually went on to cinema. And it introduced a character that then went through 5 seasons of Clone Wars, and then they brought back the lost season 6. Then she was in 4 seasons of Rebels. Sabine and Ezra, 4 seasons of Rebels. And those are amazing. And a lot of people probably haven't watched all of those, and I don't think you necessarily need to. I think if you do love Mandalorian and you want to see where the Darksaber came from, you need to watch Rebels, and I think Rebels is fantastic. But if Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka Tano, and if they cast a Sabine character, that person, that actress, those actresses will become the face of those characters that millions upon millions of people have seen. So there go the cartoon versions of them.
Well, Katie Stockoff is still the voice of the cartoon version too.
No, she's a different character. She's the voice of Bo-Katan, which she played a part in the, but again, like, her story is almost, I would say, done, except they're adding to it. But these other 2 characters, at the end of Rebels has a very specific, goal for them to do. And I don't think it could have happened in the 5 years in between Mandalorian or Return of the Jedi Mandalorian. Anyways, if it ever happened and then they decided, oh, now we're going to spin off and get Ahsoka and Sabine live action, then that sucks to those people that brought those characters to life. And it sucks to, like, again, Dave Filoni and crew, who probably had a very good vision of where they wanted those characters to go. Or worst case scenario, which I hope would never happen, is that even if they did go back and do a cartoon version of those characters, I would hope that they would bring the original voice actresses to those characters, because I think it was Ashley Eccleston, I think, did the voice of Ahsoka, and she even aged the character for Rebels, and she did such a great job. Unfortunately, I don't remember the girl who played Sabine's, but she was fantastic again too. Real depth and growth in those characters and how they voiced them and how they were portrayed in animated series. So again, I don't want to.
So let's say best case scenario, Andre. Best case scenario, Filoni gets his own TV show spun off, and with these 2
it's a
characters.
Cartoon.
No, you want a cartoon. You don't want live action.
Yes, no live action. No.
Even if it means people not watching it. Because then the dream would be, if it's live action, everyone would know the characters and appreciate it and watch it. You would rather it be cartoon.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he can do what he wants. There's no.
What if he could do what he wants live action?
No, we've already proven that, because they're not throwing out the budget. Like, look, Mandalorian, I can't remember what episode it was. I think the second last one, they didn't have enough stormtroopers, so they had to go and call this group called the 501st, and all these guys brought their stormtrooper armor to shoot as extras, and I'm like, you're Disney and you don't have enough money for extras?
Shut up. Are you serious?
Yeah, bro.
How cool is that for the 501st?
Yeah, but
the
501st is kind of a
A
cool
screen
thing too.
used armor
yeah.
now.
For the first time, Andre, I think I'm gonna have to fact check your Star Wars stuff. Are you serious?
100%.
Yeah, but at the same
brother.
time,
All of
It is.
Hollywood doesn't
It's
have
true.
enough store.
Yep.
well,
That's sad.
Yeah.
I don't know if they stated it was a money issue though. I don't know if they stated it was a
Yeah, I
money
don't.
issue.
I would have to check that.
Okay, maybe
Peter
They,
will let us
they,
know.
they feature those guys in the documentary, which is really cool. Like, imagine if you're a fan, you built this wicked armor, and they actually ask you to represent a stormtrooper in the movie, and now you own a screen used stormtrooper armor, and you're featured in a Star Wars documentary. Like, how ultimate of a fan,
That's cool.
and those
The
guys do a lot.
501st, yeah, the 501st do a
Yeah.
lot of charitable stuff. So maybe,
Yeah.
to John's point, maybe they were
Throw
brought
them a
in
bone,
as
yeah.
a thank you, as a hey
Yep.
man, you guys are great. You guys have helped perpetuate the fandom in a positive way. So we're gonna reward you by being as in the background.
Hey guys,
Sure.
I gotta fly.
I know you gotta
I gotta
bounce.
fly
Yeah.
soon. I got a class I gotta teach. Got
Mhm.
about 20 ladies looking for my sexy backside. But anything
reg
else you
aside-
want to
No,
ask?
I want you to give me your final thoughts before you bounce. Like, what are you looking forward to in season 2 before you run away?
I'm looking for more lightsabers. I would love to see, even if they bring us a few Jedi-esque, type characters.
That's quasi confirmed. So what else are you looking for? Because that's happening.
I'm looking. I would love to see, an Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra sighting. Unfortunately, just knowing TV, we're gonna watch the whole season, and it's gonna be the last 1 or 2 episodes, and it's gonna be a short. And I just hope they don't do that. The stuff that we've seen already, that's it. That's the climax. Those are the best parts. I really, really hope that they build upon the trailers. And I'm looking for more Jedis, and I would love to see an Ezra, Sabine, or anything from Clone Wars. I would love to see Clone Wars even continue in a live action movie setting. It doesn't have to be cartoon for me, but I just like seeing more Star Wars, man.
Well, they gotta tease you for season 3, man. They gotta put I don't know if they're gonna res it, but they gotta do all that stuff near the end of the episodes to get you hyped for season 3. You can't just put it in the
I just hope
beginning.
they don't do that. I love shows where they just get right into, like, they kill a main character first episode. Like, I like that. I like that stuff because it keeps you on your toes, and you just can't fall in love with anybody because they may not be here tomorrow, which is life. You know what I mean?
So you're talking about Lost? Is that what you're
guys,
doing?
Having said that, guys, I wish you guys all the best. Stay
Yes.
safe.
Thank you for joining us.
Remember the
Thanks,
3
Kev.
W's. The 3 W's: wash your hands, wear a mask, and watch your social distancing.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
brother.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Um,
The nameless
course.
child.
you can find Kevin on social media. Where else can we find you before you bounce?
I'm a CBC News reporter. I do voiceovers, voice acting. I host events, not very many right now, but I have done a lot of virtual events. I did a virtual event last night for marijuana-infused cooking. Check out these guys, Vanish Point. They do some really great stuff. Some Markham guys as well. And
Where can they find you? What's the website? What's the website to find you?
www.kevincarrington.ca. You can follow me on Instagram at Kevin Carrington the Voice. You need your voiceovers. You need narration done. You need virtual events hosted.
Are these union jobs or non-union jobs? Quickly.
Both.
Okay.
The last thing I did was a O. Henry commercial. O. Henry, oh hungry. So
There we go.
I did a Purge parody. I did a Purge. This is not a test. So I did. That was cool.
Next up, Tony Tiger. They're great. Here we go. There we go. Thanks, buddy.
Hey,
We'll
guys.
see you
Stay
soon.
safe,
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Kevin.
Later.
See ya.
Take care.
Okay, here we go, Rob. This is your time to shine. What do you
I
expect?
I think the light has already been shining on me all this.
That's true.
It's
this
true.
has been his
100%,
episode.
100%. The shine is shining on you. The shine. So go, Rob. Tell us what your prediction for season 2 is.
Listen, man, I have my expectation is to just want to be entertained. I don't have a deep history on Rebels and Clone Wars cartoons like Andre and John and maybe even yourself do. So I have no I have no expectation on these characters coming in and whether or not they're true to form or canon or whatever. I just want to be entertained, man. I want to enjoy it. I think that from the trailer that I think there's 2 trailers out. I've only seen the one.
That's correct.
The first one that I saw, it looks a lot more darker. It looks a lot more almost like Rogue One-ish in terms of like that battle scene where they're going to kill off Jin's father. I think it's probably going to end up on a cliffhanger. I think the Mandalorian. Yeah, I think Mr. Orso. Yeah, I think the Mandalorian will end up in some type of precarious situation towards the end of the season, and season 3 will end up being whatever new characters we see. We'll have to kind of rescue and break him out of whatever prison he is held in, probably by Andre as the prison guard. I just
Andre will not be in any Star Wars.
He
refuses to be it. As his agent. I'm not allowing it. He doesn't want to be part of anything. Filoni could offer.
So that's what I think. I think
himself be like,
season 2
Andre, I want you to be part of an episode. He's like, I can't do it, bro. I love you, but I can't do it. Right, Andre?
I'm hopeful that.
Right, Andre? If they asked you to be on the show, would you say yes or no?
Which show?
Mandalorian.
Friends, the reunion. What do you think?
If Filoni called you himself and DM'd you, be like, Andre, I appreciate your views in the show. You got my back. I want you to come on the show as a character. You could put a helmet on. As you're gonna say yes or no?
Yeah, why not? If I got a helmet on, sure.
No helmet now. Just so people can see your face.
If I'm no helmet and I'm a consultant, sure.
No, on the screen.
Who's gonna know me? It doesn't matter.
You'll know yourself. You'll know that you'll be on this.
Yes. Then I'll fly there, and then yes, they can do me virtually. Okay.
You're in. So let people know. Sorry, Rob, go for it.
Yeah, no. I just I don't know. Anyways, I think that it might be less. I think what John said earlier, or maybe it was Kevin, might be less talky in the episodes. I think it'll probably be a bit more action focused. I think that's kind of what we all are hoping for, maybe in some fashion. So at any rate, that's my hope. I'm going to watch it. Drops next Friday, or I guess people, when you're listening to this on Wednesday, it'll be in 2 days. It drops. I'll watch it this coming weekend with my son, and we'll see how it goes.
Perfect. John, what are your predictions for season 2?
I think I'm going to lean on the documentary again because it's fresh in my mind. Because they stated when they started this show, they were basically the analogy they used was they were given their older brother's toys, but the leftovers. So they get IG-88 and all these kind of characters that are not hot. And now they seem to have access to these other characters, and a lot of them are Dave Filoni Rebels characters, like Andre said. So I think what's going to happen is, and I'm going to just put this out there because I want it to be true because it would actually work out for Andre, is that Dave Filoni was on board season 1. He is not a live action director. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think he states that in the documentary.
Yep.
He didn't know if this person's going to sit down here. He's actually wearing a costume. I can't do it like I do in the animated series.
Yep.
So I think season 1, he was taking everything in, learning everything he could learn, because he seems like that kind of guy. I was really impressed seeing him in the documentary. So I know now why Andre likes him so much. And all the other directors, Dave Filoni, he was the guy we went to ask stuff for. Probably they didn't have 24-hour access to him. But if he is now being moved over, and Jon Favreau's thing is he gets these things jump started and then he moves on to his next project. That's what he does. He's the guy that kickstarts these things, that brings in the influx of money and the popularity and the blah 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 and blah blah, even if you don't like how he does things. And then he moves on to he moves on to the next. He even has a cooking show or something like that.
Yeah.
So I want to think that what they're doing is they were setting up, and now, because that's why they didn't bring these characters in season 1, because now if Dave Filoni is in charge and at the reins, he can bring these characters in properly. And I don't think they're going to have him on set and let Andre's worst nightmare happen, that they're going to trash these characters. If he's on set, he's not going to let it happen, right? You would bring in other characters. You would bring in characters from wherever the hell it is. So I want to predict that this season is definitely going to top this first season, and is probably going to have a little more meat to it. I do anticipate the solo child episode, like every show is going to do, episode where he's walking around the floors and doing his own thing and no other character shows up. But I would like to see other characters, if a potential for a spin-off show. Maybe show is called The Mandalorian, but they have episodes where Mandalorian is in it for a minute. You know what I mean? So
to win it.
Yeah, you win it. Yeah, at the end.
Yep.
Thank you, Rob. That was very helpful.
to your point,
The hits
John,
keep coming from Rob. Another one.
DJ.
Yeah, but
I'm actually
Khaled.
surprised, John, you didn't say, I would like to see the Mandalorian play the mandolin just once. I'd really like to see that.
Another one. And that's hashtag
That-
dad jokes.
There's only
Thank
one
you,
person
Rob.
that
On
can do
brand.
that, and that is Nicolas Cage playing that in his movie. So quick point to John. Looking at the researching notes here, Jon Favreau wrote every episode this season but one. So he wrote every episode this season except for Rick Fukuyama, who wrote one episode. So the combo is broken. Let's see if that episode changes it, because Andre will give us notes on episode 7 specifically, because that's the only episode of The Mandalorian not written by Jon Favreau. So we'll see if... Oh, no, sorry. No, because... No, I'm correct. There was a few other... fact-checked already, I'm wrong. Because Fellaini and Christopher Yost wrote episodes for season 1 as well. So I'm incorrect. So we'll see if a new voice
has writing credits, right?
Writing credits, because
Which
Filoni wrote the
could
guns.
mean anything, right?
Filoni wrote and directed episode 5, and Andre was not a fan. So that was a strike.
That was the Tatooine one. That one was horrible.
But you get 3
But
strikes.
He was
You get 3
credited
strikes.
on it. You know?
He
again,
wrote and directed. So we'll see if he gets another. Yeah, he'll another crack at it. So this one.
But my thing, like going back to what John says, I do have a little, like, I do want to have a little bit of hope. But my thing is, why bring in like so many characters from Rebels all at once? Like, why not? Like, it's only 8 episodes, right? So like, if they did wanted to see, like, I would love it if this was kind of true. Like, say, oh, we want to bring
Iron Man 2,
Filoni
Andre.
to become the guy, and then we'll be like, okay, who do you want to put in here from Rebels that we could use? Let's get one, because like literally the first season of Mandalorian, it's all brand new characters, so that's cool. But then to bring in like, and again, we don't know, but there's been so much internet rumors talking about, so we could probably assume 100% that if Katie Sackhoff is in, she's reprising her role as Bo-Katan. That would have been enough for me. That would be like, okay, cool. She's a Mandalorian. She has ties to the Darksaber. She's the last person to have had the Darksaber in the Rebels, which is the last time we saw it. That would have been, I'm like, okay, cool. I want to see where that goes. But then to say, oh yeah, we're also going to put in Ahsoka. Oh, and then even there was a guy who tweeted out, I can't remember his name, Stu, who said that he was going to be playing Ezra, and then he retracted that tweet. He's like, oh, I'm just joking.
That was a joke. Yes, that was Raul that did the Star Wars. Raul Koholi, who did all was on iZombie and joked on it. But he's a big Star Wars fan like you. He was the one that did the drunken live reading. He's able to remember the entire movie of Star Wars and do it. He's done 2 of them now.
Yeah.
So every time he gets the line wrong, he takes a shot. But
I just
shout out to
hope
Raul.
I just hope I just hope they have a solid plan.
But
I guess
to your point, Andre, isn't this what the Iron Man 2 philosophy is that Jon Favreau botched? That they bring these characters and then they'll spin them off. So you bring them in, test and see people like them, and then all of a sudden now they get their own live action TV show where
Black Widow's going to come out one day in the future.
Where there's a whole side character of Katie Sackhoff, or there's even rumors of a Cara Dune show of her own as well to write her off, and then maybe Katie Sackhoff.
But see, isn't
and the
that a little bit
Mandalorians.
too soon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, every person in Star Wars like is visually stunning, and if they have a backstory, you could be like, yeah, I'll take an episode or 2. But why give them their own show when you could just make them stronger?
If it's a prequel show where it's her and her team just taking out Imperials, then that's a show where you're like, maybe that's interesting with Cara Dune going around.
But you don't need a whole show for that. You could have that just as an episode of The Mandalorian where it's just her talking, and like John said, maybe the Mandalorian is in and she's telling him the story, and then it's a flashback of her doing all that
episode.
Stuff. Yeah,
maybe though it ends with Katie Sackhoff being given a new moniker of Starbuck. And off she goes on different adventures.
Maybe they give her Starbucks.
And they tie into the Battlestar Galactica universe.
Yeah.
How mind-blowing would that be?
I think, as we've discovered in the Mandalorian, they get paid in different credits. So they'd be like, here are some Starbucks. Go on your adventure. So
wow. Yeah.
You wanna, because remember, Carl Weathers is like, here's some
calamari flarangi.
Yeah,
that would explain the intricate ordering process at Starbucks. I have a mocha latte grande with vanilla froth, and that just sounds like it comes out of the Star Wars.
I just don't understand the Galaxy Far Away. They don't have a universal credit like they do in clearly in Star Trek. Outside of Gold plus Platinum, that's one thing. And then where's the space credits? Yes, where are the space credits? How does this work? Ridiculous. Anyways, so we are gonna wrap up momentarily. Final thoughts on the joy that is season 2. Anyone else have any final comments? Andre, do you want to make your comment on the other thing before we leave, or are you satisfied?
Well, again, I guess it all boils back down to I think Favreau and I think, you know, John had mentioned, you know, it's the character with the helmet, but he's the one that wrote that they can't take their helmet off. So again, why would you put yourself, if you want to tell this type of story, why would you handicap yourself with that? Like, that's not a Mandalorian thing. He created that. And from a timeline perspective, again, it makes no sense, because in Rebels, we see every Mandalorian taking off their helmet, right? And even up until the epilogue in Rebels, which literally takes place after Return of the Jedi, she's got her helmet off, and that's canon. So they talked about the Purge, right? Which we haven't seen yet. So if the Purge is going on simultaneously with, you know, Empire and Return of the Jedi, something happens to the Mandalorians in which they then will not take their helmets off. And then I'll reference their own show. But then in episode 4, that girl just happened to know, how long have you not taken your helmet off? Well, how the hell is a non-person supposed to know that a Mandalorian takes their helmet off, especially if it's a subsect of Mandalorian, right? How is this? So now you can say, well, that character, she was a warrior. She could clearly fire a gun. But he shoehorned himself. Like, some people have watched The Walking Dead. In The Walking Dead comic, the main character Rick had his hand cut off. But then in the TV show, Robert Kirkman's like, yeah, we sidestepped that because that's terrible. We can't do that. And thing. So again, why would you handcuff yourself with this thing about a character? You want to base this on the man with no name, the gunslinger, you know, badass, but you're going to put a guy in a helmet. That's on you. Right? That's all on him. That hangs on him. He made the decision. So maybe a lot of this stuff, like, yeah, maybe he did emote on the Yoda and he wanted to hold it. But if you had taken that off, I could have connected and believed that. But there's also something else. You did mention Iron Man 2 and how he botched that. And notice how in Iron Man 2, he really slid Happy Hogan in there was more parts. I just didn't realize this, but in Clone Wars, Jon Favreau voiced the character of Pre Vizsla of Death Watch. And what did Pre Vizsla of Death Watch have in Clone Wars? He had the Darksaber, and he fought Obi-Wan. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is all ego for Jon Favreau. He makes a show, and then he's like, oh, well, since I had the Darksaber, I'm going to put it in this show because I'm doing it, and I'm going to make Star Wars this way because I played a Mandalorian, and I, yet I don't take the time to read up and know anything about it. And then he's going to shoehorn everybody else with, oh, you got to make this work now because I chose to have a character that we want people to connect with, but he's going to be in a helmet all day. Yes, did it work for Judge Dredd? Sure, because Judge Dredd is I am the law. Judge Dredd isn't walking around with a baby. Judge Dredd isn't interacting with other people except other judges who have helmets on. So yes, it's not the same thing. And I think that is a directorial, like, that's just a big miss, right? So can they change it? Sure. But they made such a hammer of saying, if I take this helmet off, I'm not a Mandalorian anymore. And I'm like,
so first, let me just say this, because I got to stop you, Andre. First, your views do not reflect the views of John, Rob, and myself. We love you, John Favreau, and it's not.
There's nothing to say you can't love somebody and not be critical of what they do. That's kind of
a personal attack there about me.
It's not a personal attack, dude. That's not a personal attack. I didn't say I hate him. I said I hate his choice. Right, and why he chose to do that. If you think that's different,
I appreciate you, Jon Favreau, and if there's any opportunity for me just to be, as I said before, your turtle, and just hang out with you on a regular basis, I will just do it and drop on
Swingers Part 2.
There was already a Swingers part 2 already. It was with they already, you know, him and Vince Vaughn did it already with
They
P.
weren't
Diddy.
the same characters.
Yeah, true. But I always remember the scene in NHL '94. Make Gretzky's head bleed. Make Gretzky's head bleed.
Listen, I hate this whole thing though. How we everybody understands that Iron Man 2 is an imperfect movie, but there's also everybody's gone on record to say that does not lie at the feet of Favreau. That lies at the feet of Marvel,
Feige, and all of them.
Who were like rushing to get it out and only gave him like 13 months to put the whole thing together. So I just think that if we're going to make a comment about Iron Man 2 and how that you're using that as a barometer or a measure against Favreau, there has to be some proper context. And I think the guy got hosed.
I'm not talking about its context of how he directed the movie, but again, putting himself in making Happy's part bigger. Like in the first one, it was a cameo. In the second one, he's legit got like multiple scenes without other people. So again, listen, I'm not a director. I'm not a writer. I don't have any of these things. Maybe these guys get so excited and they want to be part of their storytelling. They want to be in front of the screen and stuff like that. But you got to tell me, you can't tell me that it's not suspect that it all goes back down and now like the Darksaber shows up, because why does it have to show up?
So at
you
the
know what I mean?
Okay, we're closing it out. This is so on a
it could have
positive
been
note,
anybody's lightsaber.
I'm
It could have
super
been any
excited
lightsaber though, right?
Okay, we're finishing this off, Andre. We can't go on this negative tone, so we got to finish off on a. We're all excited except for Andre to watch season 2. I hope it continues on the way it's going. So Andre's continuously mad because better content for all of us. I hope it's not good for Andre's purpose because I'm pissed off. Andre is the best Andre. So hopefully it follows to what me and John and everyone else continues to enjoy. I hope they botch different characters because we want Andre to be angry. We don't want to see sad Bruce Banner walking the streets. We want to see the Hulk. So for all of us, let's continue with this hype train, continue with the storyline because Rob is meh, which is fine. Rob is also fun. But really, at the end of the day, we want more angry Andre. So Favreau, insert yourself in it. Take it and give
he was in it. Wink. He was in the Mandalorian. He was the heavy gunner.
I hope
was he not?
He calls himself as he takes to the helmet. It's like, my name is Andre Greenidge. I am this, and names a character after you just to piss you off. Because and my father.
But then I could sue him like Tony
Ryan
Twist.
Reynolds.
Remember Tony
my
Twist
father is Ron Reynolds, and then be like, boom, the next level of just digging into you because. Yeah. Angry Andre is the best Andre.
They name a character after me and get Ryan Reynolds to play it. Yeah,
100%. I will start a campaign.
Awesome. And co-writing credit by Robert Kirkman.
Kirkman. Yeah, just who else is slighted Andre?
The trifecta. Favreau, Reynolds, Kirkman. It's Andre's
Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith. But Kevin Smith as well as his sidekick. Just keep on adding the hits. It would be my favorite thing ever, just for Andre just be like,
hey man, it's 2020. Shit, you never know, Andre. So let's just get ready for it.
This will be the whole new level of rage where Andre will turn green and bust stuff up. So all right. That is the note we want to finish on. Yes, we look forward to seeing it, to giving more feedback. Give us your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in season 2. Give us your thoughts on what you liked, what you didn't like on YouTube. Comment below, and we'll get back to you on your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in season 2. What the characters you liked, you didn't like, whether you think Andre is right or wrong, whether you think that Rob is truly our most shining of stars. So talk to us below. Comment below, like, subscribe, all the fun things that you share it with. Hopefully John will splice in the unhelpful Star Wars synopsises, especially John's one. Especially, it'd be great for you just going on about it. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, John, Andre, where can we find more of you?
So Heroes World Online on YouTube, Instagram, on the Facebook. You can email us at sales.heroesworld@gmail.com. And Heroes World Podcast on all the podcast services. So we're pretty much on everything, I believe, right now. So Spotify and iTunes being some of the most popular ones. We are on Google Podcasts as well, et cetera, et cetera.
Andre, I'm waiting for. Are you going to say it today?
I think I'm gonna have to go and retreat to that planet that Luke Skywalker was on, and both he and I can be angry about Star Wars together.
Drink
I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know what the planet is. No, you can find me at the store.
Andre, you missed it.
Happy to always start conversations about comics and characters, Star Wars, sci-fi, anything we talked about the podcast. But more importantly, come check out the store. John and myself have been really shaking things up, restocking and moving stuff around. The place is looking great. Our distributors are finally getting inventory back to us. So if you are anywhere in the GTA, that's the Greater Toronto region, we are in Markham, conveniently located at 8601 Warden Avenue, and that's Warden Highway 7. Lots of free parking, lots of amenities. Hey, if you need to go get bread and milk, there are a Shoppers Drug Mart and a No Frills in the plaza, so you could tell your significant other that you're just making a food
Felix and Norton cookies.
Felix and Norton cookies. You
the
and then make
left.
that drive up and stop and see us. We really would love to see you and support any of the small businesses that you can. We are still hanging on. We're not back to where we were, but I feel the store is stocked and strong. We just need people to come in and check us out. So do what you can. We would always appreciate it.
I was hoping you were going to say we're waiting for the cue from last week, and Andre, you to say that you can find me in the desert of the real.
Oh no, I've already used that one twice. I've done it.
You didn't say you said the real. You didn't say desert of the real. So I was lining that up for you.
I will come up with another one.
No, you can just use that all the time. It's perfect as Morpheus. I'm all because clearly there's no more Morpheus, so you can take the mantle because Larry himself is not going to be the next Matrix movie. Rob, where can they find you?
On Instagram and Twitter at Rob Gadet. You can also, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the H-Dubs Sidekick podcast with Joey and John, please go back onto the YouTube channel, find us there, or on, again, any listening device. John has a really difficult time
Rorschach.
with people's name. Like
Rorschach?
What's that?
Rorschach.
Rorschach.
No. Okay, yeah, he has difficult time with Zdarsky.
Rob Shack.
Yeah, Rob Shack.
Radio Shack? What?
We talk about Radio Shack, yes. And if you're listening to this on Wednesday and you didn't hear yesterday's podcast, jump back in. We're going to talk about a lot of the stories that came out this week, including what do you think of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, and is James Bond going to Netflix? So we'll have discussions about that as well.
Yeah, and just to let you know, I am wearing a Star Wars TV shirt. That's Echo Base. Here we go.
Nice.
So people wondering, I am wearing Star Wars gear at some point, even though
nobody was wondering. I thought it was a Le Chateau shirt, actually.
R.I.P. Le Chateau. R.I.P. There we go. Another one bites the dust. So thank you so much for listening today. Thank you for following. If you've made it this far in the podcast, God bless you. It's a lot. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend and enjoy the Mandalorian episode 1. See you later.
See ya.
Thanks, Stu.
See ya.